Hello, Steve White, Trekway 89 for Steve Arts 89, Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 3. Janelle. Basically, they go to Trill. So, one of the weaknesses of Discovery, particularly this season and overall, is instead of creating their own sort of worlds and world building in their own universe, they're very much just falling back on already established characters and worlds from other Star Trek series, particularly Next Generation with this season. Probably after Picard did so well, sort of featuring the Next Generation cast, and just focusing on them and falling back on that instead of creating their own world. So this episode, they're on Trill. They've gone down because they found through the puzzle piece a correlation between an element of the design of the puzzle piece and the spots on a Trill. Now this Trill, the host is dead, and they're now in another host, Kalzara, and Culber has to do a ritual that they have already shown in Deep Space Nine and other series to sort of do a temporary sort of joining so he can actually access his memories and lead them to the next puzzle piece. Now, what he does lead them on is a little bit of a goose chase. So Burnham and Book basically are fighting these giant cloaked, protected in some sort of shields, bees, and eventually Book ends up communicating to them with his special powers, and they find peace and manage to assure them they're no threat. And then they discover that the piece wasn't even in their land or their area, that he actually was just testing them to see if they respected life and how they would actually, respond to that. So then they get the next piece. We see Saru having his first day as an ambassador. We see some of the Vulcan purists may have a problem with a Kelpian marrying a Vulcan, so there's a bit of drama there, but I like the Vulcan character. She's like, couldn't care less. She's going to do what she wants anyway. I like that character. Her and Saru are very cute. We see Adira and Gray reunite and then break up because, of course, they're kids, and it was really frustrating watching their romance and how much importance was put on that in, I think, season 3, because they were just a couple of teenagers. They weren't even going to be together in 6 months. You knew that, but yet no one explained that to them. It was very immature. It was very much like catering to kids and teenage audience where, the show is primarily adults who actually know better. So that was kind of cringe, and they sort of ended that. And there are a lot of elements to this season that seem to be winding things up, and I'm wondering how much of that was done in reshoots and how much of it was just built into the season because they were sort of progressing the show. But it does seem to be working out to be a good ending for the series overall this season. We see... What do we see? We see Rainier settling in as first officer, and he's trying to get to know the bridge crew, which is mostly gone now. The only one left, really, is Rise, and he's spending like 30 seconds... Because he's supposed to be getting to know the crew, but he spends like 30 seconds with each one. And he finds out that Rise is actually interested in Constitution-class vessels, which is going to come in very handy, and hopefully he gets some scenes when they discover the Discovery Universe Mirror Universe era, Discovery era Mirror Universe Constitution-class, which is probably going to be the Defiant. So he probably should have something to do in that episode, God willing, because it's kind of the only one left. We get introduced to these new bridge crew members, NASA, Gallo, Asher, and it's like, why do we care? They're going to be here for 1 year. The other ones all left because the actors all didn't have enough to do, so they found other, they used their, appearance in Star Trek to get better roles, and they all left, and it just really was focusing on Burnham the whole time, which is not really Star Trek. It's about a crew, it's about a family. And the good thing about the original series is even though Uhura, Chekhov, Sulu, Nurse Chapel, Rand had sort of small roles, they were always there. They were the same people that were always there, whereas in this one it's been like a revolving door of people, and really just Saru, Burnham, Tilly, and there's very few characters that have lasted the whole series. I know they originally set that up with a sort of Game of Thrones element to sort of be edgy because you didn't know who was going to die and who was going to be around by killing off Giorgio in the first episode. But yeah. So we see Tilly put a foot down with Ranier because he's being a bit of an a-hole. He's very much a male Burnham, but we do find out that he is actually making some effort. He's not that much of an a-hole. Stamets sort of gets more of a sense from getting information from the Romulan and Tricoder that the tech that they're chasing is actually, has a lot of potential. And what else do we see? That's about it. I think I've covered it all. There was one element where we see that during the Dominion War, the Federation and other species did a lot of study into the progenitors' tech, and that was the era that Janelle was in, and that's why he sort of knew about a lot of stuff. And that's kind of it. And part of the weakness of this series and Discovery as a whole is we're not getting real individual adventures and stories. We're just getting chapters and parts of one overall story, and it's just not that interesting to see one story in increments. Even if they do feature different planets and sort of different little side adventures, it's just not the same as Star Trek's, real format of different, civilizations and stories and adventures and being very unique and all that. So, meh.